Hey everyone, I'm Kate Kennedy and this is day 6 of 100 Days of Kane, PA. And I'm here at the depot with the History Society. Did you know they meet every Wednesday night and they have great stories about the history of Kane? So every single Wednesday for the 100 days, we're gonna be coming down to the History Society so that you can hear a story of Kane. But I thought for the first time, you should hear how we got the depot and maybe even a little bit about this piece of history of the railroad station here right on Route 66 going up into 6. So I'm going to flip you around and we're going to talk to two of the members here who know the beginnings of the depot history. So here we have Dick Fly and John Marconi. Hello.
Hello there.
Hello.
How's Kate?
I'm good. How are you
Good.
guys?
Doing good.
Okay, so we're going to talk about how this came to be. So we're here. This building's awesome. It's a beautiful building, and you guys and the group have done a great job to restore it. And so we would love to hear a little bit about how it came to be. So who's going to start telling the story?
I'll start. In 1994, a small group of 4 or 5 guys got together to begin negotiations with the railroad about acquiring the depot. And a lot of details in those negotiations. It took a little over a year, but we finally made it through that and acquired the depot in May of 1995. We formed a nonprofit corporation, a 501c3, and started raising money to pay for the building, which we paid appraised value for, and to get it secure from the weather. Like one of the first things we did is put a roof on it. And some of the people on the negotiating committee was Denny Driscoll, myself, Gordon Harmon, Chuck Kraus, maybe another one or two.
Yeah, so since 1995, you guys have been here restoring the building, making it a place for people to come and see the history. What is the history of this building?
Well, it's amazing first that we spent almost half of our life here at the depot. So that puts things in perspective real quick. But yeah, the building was built originally back in 1871. The original depot was just about 400 yards down the track here, and that's where the original building was, but they had built this in 1871, and it was passenger station for the Pennsylvania Railroad. In fact, it's the highest in elevation on the Pennsylvania line, so the depot here in Kane is the highest in that elevation. But they had 2-track system out here originally, and so around the turn of the century they had they removed one of the tracks. They actually raised the elevation of the grade up slightly, and by doing that, it changed the grade over here around the station. So thus that new brick platform was put in probably right around the turn of the century.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
early 1900s. And it's interesting because John had actually purchased off of eBay a stereoscopic card, and we weren't necessarily sure it was the depot, but it looked like the station here, and so we acquired that, and then we became detectives.
Oh, I know that was fun because on the stereo card the building was shorter. There was windows where there are doors today, and but checking out the building, they did a really good job remodeling and adding on to the building, changing doors, but we found a lot of clues that picture, and that's the only picture we have of the original depot. It was smaller, and there was steps around it. You know, we did an archaeological dig maybe 10 years ago. There was a sag in the bricks holding water, and a retired railroad worker said, you know, how about if I pull them bricks up one day and level it? And I said, that's a great idea, but while you have them up, let's dig down and see what's underneath them. And, you know, we found actually foundations for the steps, so that was a fun project.
That's really cool. So when did the depot stop being used for the railroad company, like for the trains?
I think the last passenger train went through in 1967, And then the depot was used by the railroad and the Knox and Kane Railroad through the 1980s, mostly for storage. Sloan Cornell did have an office down here with the Knox and Kane. I think he was with the Allegheny Railroad at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, what amazed me after we acquired this was the first time I went in it was how little had been done to it in all those years. I mean, you went in and it was like you were stepping back in time. A few alterations, but they were done with care that they could easily be removed and you didn't even know they were there.
Well, it's awesome. This is definitely a treasure.
In the mid-'60s, I know we came up here as a family. My father brought us up, and I think we rode twice up to Erie, the train. So that was quite an experience. But I think the first trip we took up there was in 1962, and the other one was, I think, in '64 we rode it. And it seems shortly after that the passenger went out of the passenger part of it went out of business at that point. They remained as a freight office here for quite a few years now. But then it sat empty for quite a few years, and you know, the roof was leaking like a sieve, and the windows were boarded up, and it wasn't looking too good a condition. So again, with this initial group that had purchased it, and with some other volunteers in that really helped us in that acquisition, and then when we acquired it, Sugar McAllen she was a contractor in town here, and she had told John that, hey, if you guys buy the material, she said, I'll find all the help in terms of the local contractors to volunteer. So they did that. And one weekend we had a volunteer crew up here, and that literally took the whole roof off and then replaced the new roof back on it. And so that really saved the building because, you know, it prevented the water from coming in anymore. And so from that point, it was just a sort of a long process, because now you look back, people, you know, come here and they see a complete building, and much of the material inside is original, outside is original, but at the same time, you know, there was a number of years where, you know, there was no heat in the building, there was no air conditioning in the building, the water wasn't running in the building. Mm-hmm. it was pretty primitive.
I even forget all the different things we did. Like Dick said, new heating system, air conditioning, you know, plumbing, new hardwood floors in the front and the third room back. We were able to keep the middle room. Exterior storm windows, historically correct. I mean, you don't even notice there's storm windows here, but that was a major project, over $20,000 just in the storm windows. Mm-hmm. So we did those things one at a time. After we got the building paid for, it was easier, and just continue to raise funds to keep it going.
Well, you guys are doing an awesome job. And people, you're here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. So if anyone wants to come down, they can come down and get to learn a little bit more about the history of Kane.
And open Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah, I mean, stop up and because I mean, you know, it's an active museum, so you can learn about early Kane history here, about the glass factories, about the silver company in town, the brick manufacturing companies, Holgate Toy Company. And as well as it's a gift shop here, so a lot of books. Our philosophy always has been from the beginning is we learn more about the Kane history, we like to share it, and a great way to share it is through self-publishing. So there's just a whole variety of books here that would capture everybody's attention. So,
and we have a great collection of Kane family history, you know, on Thomas Kane, Elizabeth Kane.
Lobo Wolves.
Lobo Wolves. We have a room dedicated to the Lobo Wolf.
Well, and one of the real keys to the whole 25 years almost here, it's really been the support of the community. It's been the volunteers, because we've had junior high or middle school kids coming up here helping to scrape paint inside and paint, and we've had so many people that just volunteer their time and kind of the sweat equity behind it. But it's just the way the community is. I mean, in projects that we've taken on, some major projects, whether it's like the storm windows that John talked about, you know, heating systems and so on and so forth, even with the chapel that we own, that we'll talk about some other evening here, you know, the community has always stepped up for us, so we're very appreciative of Kane. So.
Yeah, that's why we love Kane. All right, you guys, we'll be back. We'll be seeing you every Wednesday, so thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I want you guys to be thinking about what part of Kane history do you want to learn about? There's so much, from the Kane family to the Lobo Wolves to Holgate Toys to people who have visited. We have a lot to cover in the next 100 days, Wednesdays of the 100 days. So please in the comments be writing what part of the history do you want to see, and we'll take your lead and we'll tell stories about the pieces of history of Kane that you want to know about. We have a wealth of information and some really great storytellers down here at the depot, and feel free to come down for yourself over the weekends or on Wednesday nights. We're really excited to be telling the stories, because once you know the history of this town, which is amazing, the more you love it. So thanks for tuning in tonight, and I'll be seeing you again tomorrow for day 7.